we're live. Word up. We're live, right? Yo, it's your man DJ Seiko alongside. Alright, and this is Daddyman Radio. We're at the YAP Studios.
Yeah.
By the way, YAP Studios are owned by DJ Polo.
Me.
Applause button.
You know what I'm saying?
Drop the bomb.
Doing my thing.
No doubt. Alright, so it's Daddyman Radio, where we deal with 4 pivotal and decisive moments in fatherhood experiences. Those challenges, 4 challenges, and those victories, those triumphant moments. And today we have MC Sparks. I'm taking it back.
Wow. Jhunnipuz Elite, what up?
All right. Shon. And so we call Spark, Shon, whatever you want to call him.
Whatever you call with, cousin. You cousin.
That's what's up.
You know we family. So
we fam. It's all
literal and figuratively.
So look, cousin, check it out, man. You were dealing with the court system, with TANF, and a whole lot of craziness. That's been one of the challenges that you had as your fatherhood experience, right? Tell me about that. Tell us about it.
Basically, what happens, my wife had already had 2 boys before when we started dating. She already had 2 kids when I stepped up on the scene. We had a child later, and I was the quote-unquote good guy, right father. My son didn't want for anything.
Okay.
I was working a very decent job for my age, so money wasn't even an issue. I was dropping her a significant amount monthly. We already had an understanding. Everything basically was that Shangri-La that most dudes look for with a baby mother situation, which is another wise point. You know, like RZA said, you know, watch where you plant your seed. Look out for the soil, because that makes or breaks a lot of stuff you're gonna have to deal with on the back end.
Salute to
so basically, being that she already had 2 kids, she opened up a TANF case for her oldest, because her oldest father really never was there, didn't really do anything. So basically, when I'm at the house and I get a child support letter, and so I call her, you know, I'm kind of wilding out, like, it's something you need to tell me, player, like, you know, we need to talk, like, you know, what's going on? And so she's shocked and she's upset. She's like, no, I didn't. And so we go and investigate the situation, and come to find out, what happens is when one child in a house gets assistance, basically it becomes like a witch hunt, and any kid, it becomes Salem. Like any kid, they go after all the other children's fathers to support, and cases are opened up. So long story short, like my license got suspended. Like, I was fighting, like it's crazy. Like I felt like a straight criminal, and that's every time I went up to child support services, they talk about it, they treated me like crap. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, you know, I was just a big dumb, you know, and juvenile delinquent type guy. Like they treat me like a deadbeat. And I'm sitting here like, okay, I'm a manager at a bank, and you know, I do this and I do that. I'm not that guy, but they just, you know, I guess you get desensitized because you hear so many stories and you see so many things that you're just a number, and they just automatically judge you. So we went to court to fight it, and I got an attorney and everything. I went in there like armored up. Like I kind of felt good. I felt like, you know, some black Republican type stuff. I went in there, you know, like, okay, you want to go to war? We want to go to war. And so I went in there, and the funniest thing happened when we explained the situation. The judge kind of looked like, what? So we explained the whole TANF situation. Actually, the guy that represented child support services broke down the whole, if one kid has a case, then the whole house. So the judge even was kind of on some common sense stuff. He was, okay, let me get this straight. So this young man doing what he's supposed to do, him and his wife having, him and the child's mother have an agreement. He's been paying consistently, he's spending time with the child. Everything is fine. You're going after him because this other guy is not doing what he's supposed to do, but because the guy that's doing everything he's supposed to do, child lives in the same house, you have to go after him? What sense does that make? And that is a quote from a judge. And so at that point, the guy was sitting there stammering and stuttering over his words, and I'm sitting there laughing because I'm like, from a common sense perspective, it makes no sense. Right. And so the only thing that the judge said when he looked into it, he said the only thing he can do with talking to my then girlfriend was you would have to drop the TANF case. And that would close it out.
Yeah, right.
She did it. No, she did, because at the end of the day, she really wasn't getting that much money for it. She knew the relationship that her and I had. I'm like, whatever, because at that point in time, I was pretty much the dominant male figure in all the boys' life anyway. So she knew, I was like, I got you. Whatever you need, I got you. And so we just talked about it, and we came to an agreement. She dropped the TANF support for the oldest one. They ended up dropping the case. But they froze my accounts in the meantime. It was crazy.
The system is evil.
Yeah,
man. The system is evil.
True story about TANF, bro. When I was DJing in the club, I used to do this every time I went in there. Stop the music. Hey yo, all my ladies that got y'all dresses off y'all TANF check, make some noise.
Blah, 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 blah. You know what I'm saying? But it's like that. Yeah, so they tried to get me for. Matter of fact, the weirdest part of they tried to get me for a back amount.
Yo, these
that the other dad owed. I'm saying, how you coming after me for that man? And so it was like over 2,000. So I had two different checking accounts. They froze both of them, getting a grand total of maybe 5,000. So I'm like, how you trying to get me for 2, but you froze me for 5? You owe me some money. I mean, come on, with the public school, but my math ain't that bad. You know what I mean? So it was crazy. So I had to. It was a long struggle. I came from in the midst of it. I kind of broke down. I was just like, I don't like being treated like this. I mean, you go through enough just being a brother in America, just period, doing the right thing. So now on top of that, I'm thrown into the system on some BS, and now I'm being persecuted. It was crazy. But like I said, I'm glad that I had the woman by my side that I did, because she could have made it either really, really bad for me, but she didn't, because off the strength of what her and I were about, and she just helped me. Like I said, and that's why now she's my wife. So,
salutes to the wifey.
Big up, Taz. Love you, boo.
Yeah, you were supposed to say that a little earlier.
I'm sorry, I was caught in my emotions, and I went back. It was like post-traumatic stress disorder, man. I just heard detail child support. I just went into a dark place, man. It's all right.
I got you, man. I got you. So, we discussed 4 challenges, and man, you just dropped about 8 in that whole situation.
Well, I got a bunch of challenges, man. Like I said, I didn't grow up with my father. Actually, I didn't even meet my father until I was 15 years old.
Okay.
And so I had to learn a lot of stuff about being a man, on my own, finding surrogate father figures. My 2 most dominant male figures in my life were my uncle Jeffrey and my older brother, who didn't really live with us. At the time, he lived in North Carolina with my great grandmother. So those were my 2, if I had anything, my 2 most influential male role models. But then coming onto the scene with a woman that has 2 of her own, and that was intimidating as I don't know what, because I tried to stall that meeting for as long as I could. Because we both talked about it. Like, I didn't want to meet them and something happened. I didn't want to meet them until I knew we were going to go to the next level of our relationship. She was already sold earlier than I was, and she was like, I think I'm ready for you to meet the boys. And I'm like, no, I'm not ready. Kevin Hart stuff. Pineapple. But you know what I mean? So then I met them, and they were 4 and 9 at the time. And so that was kind of intimidating, but we hit it off from day one. But she was on it like, I want you to meet them, because if they don't vibe with you, then unfortunately we can't be. And I had to respect that. And so, but fortunately, they loved me to death from day one. And she was shocked, because that never happened before. Usually every guy that she eventually brought around, one liked them, one didn't. And it was all that. She was like, you were the first one that they both were like head over heels in love with. And so, and matter of fact, the 4-year-old was calling me dad, I would say 6 months into the relationship.
Wow.
Like Maurice, he bonded with quick. Yeah, Maurice was he called me dad from jump. He was just like, that's it. You done. It's you. We're gonna rock this. So I'm saying, like, okay, So that was the biggest challenge. And then finally becoming a father with my own child at 32, because that's how old I was when we had Cyrus.
Right.
I was 32 years old, so I was an OG at that point, because all my other friends had 10-year-olds and 13-year-olds. They're going to high school graduations, and I'm trying to find a good daycare. I'm like, we know what's going on. So it was just different. It was intimidating. I was very nervous, because again, I didn't have that foundation to pull from. But I mean, me and my father, we're thick as thieves now. Like, that is my ace. And so he's always been dropping jewels and giving me wisdom, and it was good to finally meet him and really get in contact with that whole side of my family, in my 20s, because it just helped me understand who I am and where I come from, and see that there are other people like me, because I come from my mom's family is blended. Like I have my brothers and my sisters, we all have different fathers, and so we all have individual personalities. So to be with a family where most people are like me, it just made me feel more at home. I didn't feel like such an odd man out.
Wow. Well, tell about that experience where you and your father became thick as thieves. Did it happen overnight? How did that process happen? Who initiated it? What are some of the pivotal moments in that? Because that's deep. The fact that 15, you meet your pops, and now you're thick as thieves.
Well, it's interesting because I'll never forget that day. It was a Sunday. I'll never forget it. I could play it out. I was at home, just watching TV. I was knocking at the door, and there was this guy standing there. And I was like, "Can I help you?" And he was just like, he just started smiling, he started laughing. He was like, "You know my pop." You know what I mean?
Right.
He was like, "You don't know who I am, do you?" And I was just like, "Nope." And he was just like, "Is your mother home?" I was just like, "Yeah, but again, who are you?"
Right.
You know, being the protective son, even though I was still the man of the house, like, who are you? And so he was like, "Just can you let her know that Terry's here?" And so I said, "Okay." So I go upstairs, Mom, some guy at the door named Terry, and her face just changed. And that's when I knew it was something significant about this guy, because her face just looked like I never seen her look like that before. Wow. So she said, she looked out the window and she was like, "You don't know who that is, do you?" I'm like, "That seems to be the question of the day, but I don't know who this is." And
somebody give me an answer.
Yeah, so she's like, "That's your father." And so I was just like, "Really?" And I always wondered about him, and I was told different things. Unfortunately, there's no shot at my mom, but it is what it is. Because of a grievance that she had with my father, she kind of kept me isolated from him, and I didn't really have any too much information about him. So anyway, they talked for like 5 minutes. He asked, "Can he take me out?" And so she asked me, "Was it okay with me first?" She said, "Let me check with Shon to make sure he even wants to." And just me being the type of guy that I am, I was just curious, and so I went and we drove off. We spent like a whole Sunday together, and we talked about a lot of stuff. And he apologized, and I guess to answer your original question, I just didn't hold a grudge. I guess I looked at it like, I don't know if it's old wisdom, it was just me as a human, I don't know, but I just didn't hold a grudge against him, because he truly explained himself, and when he explained everything, I had to go back. Some of the stuff he said hurt, because with certain stuff he told me about my mother, and I had to have conversations with her and get the whole story, because you got one side and the other side, and you got the truth in the middle. So I was just figuring out what really happened. Then my father and I had a falling out when I was in my early 20s. I needed him for something, and rather than him actually looking out, he chose to give me some lecture and ended up not doing it. So I was just like, "See, this is why I got used to not being around it. When I ask you for anything, you just go be where you at, and I'm gonna stay over here." And what happened was a coworker. It's gonna sound real creepy and spiritual, but I swear this is what happened. One lady I was working with, she was like, "You mind if I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah, we cool. What's going on?" She was like, "What's the relationship with your father? What is that like?" And I'm like, "It isn't. I don't deal with him." And so she was just like, "Well, can I tell you something?" And I was like, "Sure." She said she had a dream, and it was a man in a hospital bed. He was surrounded by 3 women, and he was dying. And she said all he was asking for is, "Where's my son? Where's Shon? I want to see Shon." And it was ironic because I have 2 stepsisters and then my stepmother, so it all made sense. And I had never told her about my father before. And so what I did was I reached out to him, and I flew down. I reached out to him. I flew down to Atlanta, and we just talked. And he apologized again. I just said, "Look, let's just start over. From this point, let's just start over." And he approached it from a real mature, wise standpoint. He was kind of like, "You've learned enough about, like, I can't be your father right anymore, because you're past that point now. You're your own man. All I can do is share my knowledge with you and give you what I know to make you even better than I am and make you better than you are now." And I said, "Deal." And just because like I said, I squashed everything and didn't hold that grudge, we were able to become pretty much best friends. Like I talked to my dad like every other day, and we talked for hours at a time, and it was interesting seeing where I get 90% of my personality from. And it's I don't know what my life would be like without him. I don't know what my son's life would be like without him, without Abu, you know, because it's just one of those things where like I said again, I'm just grateful that there was something in me that chose not to crucify this man for making a mistake.
Now, since you had these talks with your pops, was there a pivotal moment that made him change, that led to him knocking on that door?
Interesting enough, I think he was just at a point. Like, I'm my father's only son. My father has all daughters, and so and I think because of that status that I hold, it gave a little bit of extra weight to him trying to get things right with me. Okay. Because again, like I said, I'm the only son, I'm the heir to the throne. You know, so I'm the prince. So he's like, I gotta get it right. But from what he advised me, you know, there were times he basically at one conversation he told me every place that I ever lived as a child, and that impressed me. That way, I knew that he somehow was following me and knew what was going on. He told me things that I didn't. He wasn't talking to my mother, but my dad knows over to everybody. So it was just interesting for him to really just give me a list of everything that I've done. I'm like, wow, you really were paying attention. You really followed up on this. And I think it just got to a point where he was just tired. He was like, and too, I would think I was at an age now where I could kind of poke my chest out at my mother. Like, she couldn't keep us apart if I really wanted to be with him and meet him. I was at an age where I could voice that and really stand my square and be like, no, this is what I want to do. And you can't really do too much about it, you know, and you can't, it's not like I'm 5 where you can be like, he can't do this, he can't do that. It's like, no, I can, you know, and I can leave the house kind of if I want to, and I can meet up with him if I feel like it. And I think that's what it was. I think it was strategic more than anything else.
Now, did your mother feel a release of weight when he became more involved? Did she ever discuss anything or how she felt about that?
No. To be honest with you, I think my mom was I think she was a little jealous in certain ways because I guess she felt like one conversation we had, she felt like I kind of let him off the hook too easy. But then I had to remind her, I'm like, well, did I let him off the hook? Or, you know, did you put him on the hook wanting me to also crucify him as you did? And if that's the case, then I can't rock with you on that. You know, that was something vindictive. And yeah, I know. And once I found out the whole story of what happened, I'm like, yeah, that was foul, you know, to a certain extent. But at the end of the day, even me being my age, looking at the mistakes that I've made, you know, against people, you know, everybody's trespassed against someone else at one point in time. Nobody's an angel. You just hope that it doesn't have repercussions where you can't rebuild or they can't move past it. So I'm just looking like, he made a mistake. Now he's trying to make amends for it. I can't just keep beating him over the head for the same crime. You know, even with the prison system, you go to jail, you got a limit of your sentence, and then after that, you're free. You know, you just can't keep dogging somebody for the rest of their life because they made one mistake. I just don't believe that.
Wow. That's strong, man. I'm going to bring you back to a moment in time, a really impressive moment in time where your father stood up in front of a whole slew of people and really said some things that brought everybody to tears and brought the level of fatherhood that he had to a new height. From my viewpoint. So tell us about that moment.
It was at my wedding. It was at my wedding. You know, they give everybody a moment to speak at your wedding. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But they give everybody an opportunity to say some words to the couple. And so what my father did at that moment was he apologized to my mother for not being there. He apologized to my mother for not seeking me out sooner. He basically apologized for all the mistakes that he made in regards to his fatherhood in reference to me and as a man. And he just asked her to forgive him, you know, and it was, he told her that she did a good job and I still can't turn out to be a wonderful man without his help. And I'm sorry, I just trying to be back at that moment. It was like there was not a dry eye in the room. And my father is in the type where he seeks attention. He's not a glory hog. He just used that as a medium to really be like, he probably wouldn't have had an opportunity to do it any other time. And he did kind of, it showed me, like in that one particular example, in that one instance, if I could ever point out what a man is, I'm like, that's it right there, because you told your business in front of a room full of people that you didn't know without worrying about being ashamed or ostracized or looked at crazy, and you really apologize, you manned up, and to the person that you hurt the most. And I can't ask for a better example, and I'm glad that all three of my boys were there to see that. I mean, Cyrus was 2, but he still heard the stories. Right. He's heard the stories and about what he did. I mean, I have people that was at that wedding to this day still talk about that. Like, they asked me about my father just because of that moment. They're like, yo, how's your dad? Because he just, I was telling my words about that, son. Like, yo, I went home and hugged all my kids, son. And it was, but it was like, that's just the type of guy he is. I mean, he's not perfect. I mean, we're all flawed in some way, shape, or form, but.
All right, well, tell us about, salutes to your father. Let me do this for your father. All right, so salutes to your father. Tell us about some things that you're happy about as a father, your triumphant moments, and we'll wrap it up with that. Keep it wrapped up, by the way. We're gonna wrap it up with that. Yeah. No AID, no KIDs if you can help it. You know what I mean? But triumph is just. I got so many. Seeing my boys grow up and do good. I have stepsons, but like I said again, I don't call them stepsons either. I call them, they're my boys. And the middle one, you would not know that he was not mine biologically. We act so much alike, and when he told me what he wanted to do with his life, that was a major success, because I have a degree in film and television production from Regent University.
Big up.
We need to talk, my brother.
No doubt. My alma mater, my second alma mater.
And when we talked about what he wanted to do, he said he wanted to basically follow my footsteps and go into screenwriting and production, and that was just wonderful, because I'm like, you have this person. I mean, like I said, I've known Mo since he was 4, and he idolized me to the point that he wants to walk in my footsteps, and that was big. And just with anything that my boys do, where they accomplish their goals, and I know it's because of conversations that we had, or rules that I've set, or just examples that they've seen from not only me but from my circle of friends. Because I can't lie, I do roll with a good group of brothers, so anything that they get out of that helps push them forward is a success for me. That's a triumph, because life is chess, and sometimes it's about how you set up your pieces, and sometimes you gotta set up pieces for protection. Not only not only to advance so you can get checkmate, but sometimes you gotta set up pieces to protect, and that's what I call like my brothers, my boys. You know what I mean? Like they may look like a pawn or a rook or whatever, but they're that fence when I'm not around. Because being a dad, being a parent, sometimes your kids don't hear you because you're dad and you're that parent, but you get it from Uncle so-and-so who they view as cool. It can be the exact same thing, but just because they remix it a little bit, they get it, and that, to me, that's what it's all about, and that's my success stories. When they accomplish their goals, when I sit down and talk to them, and they tell me what they want to do, what they want to be, and they're doing it, and they're being it, and those are the greatest success stories.
That's dope, man.
Dope. Well, on our way out, man, Regent Film School, you have a degree in that, and you've done some big things. You did a video for Pusha T.
Yeah, I worked with a wonderful director by the name of Samuel Rogers. That's my brother in all of this. We did Exodus. I worked on the Exodus video. He has a couple of freestyle videos that we worked on. Right. Tony Montana freestyle, Sweet freestyle, all that stuff. So Money Making Jam Boy stuff. I just got to do a lot of some decent things with this film stuff. Trying to do some more. So
that's what's up. Yo, man, another great episode of Daddyman Radio.
We had 2 guests to tear up on the show.
Yo, man, I took out my tissue, man. I was like, yo, I didn't want to do it, but that fatherhood moment, man, hit me, man. Hit me. So, this is Daddyman Radio, where we talk about 4 pivotal, decisive moments in your fatherhood experience, whether it be dealing with the devils and, the agents, dealing with the human services, TANF and all them folk, or if it's triumphant moments, like seeing that your children want to aspire to walk in your footsteps when they come older. And that's what we're all about. We focus on fatherhood. DJ Seiko.
Polo.
All right. Dog team out. All right. Daddyman Radio.